everyone, welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another Women of Horror Spotlight. Today I have with us, she's an author, and she has a trilogy out right now that is called Suffering Sequence. I have with us Elizabeth Lynn Blackson. Elizabeth, welcome to the Horror Realm.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on. All right, so listen, you have this trilogy. Tell us a little bit about the Suffering Sequence.
Okay. The Suffering Sequence started in about 2016, I think. I was put under contract by Ed Greenwood Group. Ed Greenwood is an author who created one of the Dungeons and Dragons settings, and he was creating a publication press, whatever you call it, that was for new authors who had not yet really been discovered. And one of his series that he was doing was called Hell Maw, and it was about shape-shifting demons on Earth, that sort of thing. And he had read some of my stuff before and offered me a position on their publication list. Unfortunately, the whole project kind of fell apart, and I was left with a manuscript for this book that I had written called Hell Maw, A Girl's Gotta Eat. And he gave me the green light to scrape off the serial numbers and go ahead with the publication of the book as an independent. That's where it began. So it began, I was given the job of writing a story that involved these creatures, daemons or demons, whatever you want to call them, that were shape-shifting, soul-sucking monsters. My book, however, I decided not to focus on the daemon as the main character, but more how it affected other people's lives. So the book starts with two characters, primarily. One of them is named Lucy. She's a 25-year-old woman who is suffering through having had a terrible childhood, trying to teach herself how to become a reasonable, functioning adult. And she's working as a stripper and gets jumped by some guys and rescued by this mysterious woman who turns out to be a succubus, a shape-shifting monster. Meanwhile, there's an FBI agent, the other main character of the story. His name is Javier Torres, and he is on the trail of a serial killer who is also the same shape-shifting succubus. And these two characters collide in the middle, with this demon being the impetus that draws them together and puts a wedge between them.
Wow. Now, when you decided, did you intend on it to be a trilogy or 3 books, or were you thought it was going to be like a one-off?
I wrote the first book and it sat because, I didn't know that the company was going to fall apart. I found a second publisher, and that publisher fell apart, and it starts feeling like that Monty Python joke. I built a castle and it fell over, and I built another castle and it fell over. But while I was trying to get the first one published, the story kept rattling around in my brain. So I wrote 2 more books. I wrote the first one in 2017. I wrote the second one in 2019, and I wrote the third one in 2020, dead in the middle of the pandemic. And so it is real time. As I'm writing it, I'm bringing in elements of that effect on people. So, and then I had a trilogy, and I believe you've recently spoke to Gary Hill.
Yes,
right,
Gary Hill, yes.
And that's how I found out about you. And Gary, we got talking online about something, and I found out he was a publisher. I sent him a few of my short stories, and he loved them. Started publishing my short stories, and I said, are you interested in picking up this trilogy, editing and publishing? And he said, yeah, and that's how that trilogy came to be.
And that's amazing. I mean, because one thing's amazing about that story is, too, that, when it comes to these small press and small publishing companies, we talk about, some of the bad ones. But it's amazing that, authors that normally wouldn't be able to get their work out there.
Right.
Now with these small presses and these small publishing houses, and also when it comes to self-publishing as well, there's so many options that authors who normally wouldn't have that voice, now they can be seen. Right. Audiences can read a work. And it's great for audiences like myself, because now we have a variety of
right. That's the good thing. The bad thing is when you lower the barrier to entry, there's also no gatekeeping to quality, so it becomes a coin toss. I would like to think that my stuff, because I kept getting hits on it. I kept like, oh yeah, we're interested, we'll publish, and then just as a business venture, it doesn't happen. Oh yeah, we're interested, and then and you start, at least me as an author, I was getting really frustrated because I didn't want to just self-publish, because that feels like vanity, vanity press. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
It feels to me like someone with some measure of authority had to validate what I was writing as being worth publication, I guess. If that makes any sense.
That definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
And that definitely makes sense. And like I agree with you on that aspect too, because I do say that, and I ask authors, I ask also filmmakers, I'm like, I'm not saying that the bar is low, but anybody can now put a book out there. Anybody can now put a movie out there,
Right.
which is a good thing, but also too, as a watcher or a reader,
Right.
you got to dig through a lot of shit to find anything good.
Yeah, yeah. And the funny thing that gets me is I was house sitting for a friend recently and bored and just going through all the garbage movies on Prime or whatever. And I would hit 3 or 4 movies in a row. And these weren't small movies. They were, 10 million, looked like they were $10 million budget movies. And they were garbage. They were garbage paced. They were garbage acted. And then I found one that it looks like a guy shot on the weekends with his friends with effects from Spirit Halloween. It looked like he scraped every cent to make this movie. And it was awesome and hilarious. And like, why don't
Yes.
you get these, some of these competent, good, funny nobodies and give them the chance instead of, because it feels to me like they've just got a room in Hollywood somewhere where they throw pizzas in and there's a starving gaggle of mediocre, right? I'm sounding cruel, aren't I?
But I'm going to tell you what it is. When it comes to even big publishing houses, big presses, as well as Hollywood and big studio movies, and they want to go the safe route. They don't. They want to go the safe route because I say this when I say this with horror. I think some people might get pissed off when I say this, but 70% of the horror fans, right, are casual fans. Those are people who randomly, I'm in a mood for a horror movie. Pop it on,
Mm-hmm.
Those are 70% of people who buy horror books, watch a horror movie, pay a movie ticket. They are casual horror fans. The other 30% are hardcore, the hardcore horror fans, but they're only a small percentage. And unfortunately, when it comes to, Hollywood and when it comes to presses and publishing houses, they want to please that 70% because the 70% are the ones who are paying the bills.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Lowest common denominator, or however you want to say it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You write your scripts to draw in the most people, and yeah. And I understand that.
I'm about to say that these 70% wants to see Halloween 30. You know what I mean? They want to see the Mike Myers for the 30th time. So like the 70% are the ones who wants to see the next Jason, Freddy until they beaten over the head. But studios do it because it's a safe route. They know they're gonna make money, and they know that 70% they're the ones who are paying the bills.
Yeah. And then when a small movie does hit it, then they run that one to death.
Yes.
Paranormal Activity, things like that. Like let's make. Go ahead.
Yeah, I said that's what they did with Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch. There was a billion knockoffs of those movies for 10 years.
Yeah, and The Crow and everything. If it's any, like, I'm surprised there's not Babadook 14 by now.
Yes, I agree.
The Babadooking.
Yes, but I mean, it's even true when it comes to horror books. Like I'm trying to think of the name. True Blood. Like True Blood's had a book series before it
Yeah.
became a TV show.
Yeah.
And like that spin off, Twilight books and obviously like it just beat you over the head with not only vampire books, but these vampire shows just and movies constantly because one was a hit and it's a safe route. If this was a hit, let's keep on doing this.
Yep. Did you ever read the book or see the movie The Relic?
I saw the movie.
Okay. That's a whole book series, and it's a long book series.
Really?
I read the first one, Relic, the second one, Reliquary, and I can't remember the name of the character, but he's sort of a detective French, I think it's French, or Creole from Louisiana or something, detective, and he runs through this whole series, and it starts to get really, there's a lot of weird supernatural, like even in Relic, it's very supernatural and funky. And I kept thinking like that's going to become a series of movies, and it never did, which kind of shocked me. So,
yeah, because I don't think the first one did that great in the box office, but it was an excellent movie.
Yeah, it was very fun. It was funny though. The thing is, if you read the book, they describe the main female character, the young archaeologist character, as being very plain, like painfully. People don't like, they just look right past her because and then they get a really cute girl to play her in the movie. It's like, yeah, of course, Well, I mean, we're not going to make a movie and put an Uggo in there. Jesus.
But that's my problem with horror movies too. That's my problem with horror movies too. Like the indie and big screen. Why does the cast and crew got to look like they just came off a modeling shoot? Like, why can't, I mean, if you know why? 80s,
you know why? I think you even said it in one of your interviews where it's like, I used to like the TNA movies. I like the TNA movies. I like seeing cute girls in skimpy outfits running around going, yee! It's like, oh, she's cute.
but I appreciate it. I appreciate it in the 80s though, when they had ugly characters. They had bigger people. They had people in wheelchairs, disabilities. Yeah. They had normal people, and the normal people were getting killed. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like even the final girl was just a plain Jane with some glasses on, and like I don't know what happened. I'm gonna tell you what happened. It was Scream. Since Scream, like it's been like all the horror movies, and I see this even indie horror movies. It's like they go on like they look for models to be in their movies, and like Scream 6 was the one that really bothered me recently. Was that you're at Columbia University, and there's not one unattractive person on Columbia University. There's not one person who has a disability. Don't they screen
you like you must be this attractive to attend?
I feel like, listen, I'm gonna get some shit for this. But I feel like if you go, Columbia University is one of the prestige colleges in the country, maybe in the world. You gotta be super smart. I don't feel like there's that many super good looking people walking around Columbia University.
Every now and then you get those people that are like unfair, that they're both pretty and smart and gracious, and it's like, hang on, this is bullshit. You can't be this nice.
You can't be it because you're perfect at that point, and no one's perfect.
Yeah, see, I got graced with a beautiful personality, sparkling wit, and the rest is kind of.
Oh, stop!
So if it's all right, while we're chatting, I'm going to just pull up my book and show the cover, if I may.
Yes, let's do that.
This is book 1. A Girl's Gotta Eat. This whole story takes place in St. Louis, which is where I live right now and have for most of my adult life.
Beautiful city.
Thank you. I talk about a lot of the not beautiful parts of the city. So like East St. Louis, North St. Louis gets a lot of attention in the book. As an understanding that like there's rich people in St. Louis and they live in this neighborhood where you have to run a credit card practically to get through the gates. And then there's this whole area we're letting it rot intentionally to bulldoze it to put in some big industrial thing, that sort of thing.
I live in Baltimore and it's the same way.
Yeah. So the second book in the series, I told you about the first book, and I'm sorry if I'm kidnapping this and taking it back. Okay. First book, I told you about the exotic dancer, FBI agent, and demons, shapeshifters start infiltrating the systems of power, the government, and things like that. The second book, it's called Old Black Water. Yeah, you like that?
Cover.
I designed the font. This font, I made that.
Ooh, I
Isn't
like
that
that.
nice?
Mm-hmm.
In the second book, the FBI agent Torres has taken injury in the first book to his head, and it's messing cognitively with him, and he's starting to hear things. And one of them is he's being summoned by this earth spirit. It's called a genius Loki in Greek mythology. It's the spirit of a place. And the thing that's summoning him is the spirit of the Mississippi watershed, the entire place where rain falls and drains into the Mississippi River is a sentient thing called Mishipeshu. And it's that
Nice.
thing. Oh,
So I have a question.
yeah.
Was it a challenge from going to finishing book 1 and then jumping to book 2? Was it a challenge? Like, how am I going to continue this story?
The big thing for me was I didn't want to make like. Have you ever read the Goosebumps books?
Yes,
The
love
R.L.
them.
Stein. They
Love
were all but a few of them were very cookie cutter. They had the
them.
exact same like a chunk, and I didn't want that. I didn't want this repetition of pattern, and I didn't know exactly how to go about it. And I stumbled through the second book to a degree, and then I kind of figured out what I was doing. There are kind of two kinds of writers. There are people who plot, and the other one is called pantsers. If you ever hear an author talking about how their characters do things that they don't intend, like, oh I wanted this to happen, but my characters took over and did this. That's called pantsing. It's when you follow a character instead of following a plot. I'm much more a pantser. I'm much more let my characters kind of figure it out. And this found its own course as I was writing it, and the second book almost feels like two different. Like the first half is one book, and the second half is another book, because there's a major plot change midway. It's this for the first half, and then shifts to something else. So, as a coherent, strong narrative that drives first, second, third act progression, I wouldn't say this is the strongest book. As character development, I think it's fantastic, and I feel very, very much like how people would react to a very traumatic event. So that's the second book, and then the third book is here somewhere. It's called Invasive Species, and this is the powers, the daemons who have infiltrated the systems of power. They take all of their sycophants, all the people who are following them, all the people who are looking to gain power by serving them, and the daemons themselves, and they decide to eradicate our little group of heroes. So it becomes a very deadly game in the third book. So.
Now, with the third book, does it wrap up the story neatly, or does it leave the reader some imagination on how this trilogy wraps up or ends?
It wraps up. So I've got a group, by the end of the third book, I've got a group of, I think, 7 characters, and it wraps up the major story threads for 2 of them. But it's got a lot of characters a lot of things that can still happen. But several of from the very root beginning of the story, several of the story lines get finished by the end of the third book. I did start a 4th book, but it's kind of on hold. So.
Okay. So there is a possibility of a 4th book.
I have a that beautiful, like, oh my God, if I became famous and people craved for it, if I was the next George R.R. Martin who lived, everybody lived on every word I wrote. I have a 9-book outline, very vague outline of.
Whoa.
That's not gonna happen. Don't hold your breath on that, my friend.
So when you're focusing on this trilogy and possibly a 4th and 10th book, okay, are you still thinking about other projects on the outside of the Suffering sequence?
Which is a large part of why book 4 isn't finished, because my brain is like a bag of squirrels. I got this
Mhm.
great idea. Oh wait, no, I got this great idea. You know, what gets finished, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got a whole folder of stories that are something between one line, guy turns into rubber bands or whatever. Or I've got 7 pages and then I don't know how to finish a short story. So
Because I mean, listen. I love writers. I love filmmakers and all creators because I mean, it's something that I can and I have like a respect. That's why I don't bash movies, or I try not to publicly bash movies or books or anything, especially indie. Big name ones, movies, yes. Listen, you have millions of dollars, and how the fuck do you fuck that up? But but the reason is because I just have respect for. I mean, it takes a lot to be able to put your whatever your passion is and put your masterpiece on paper or camera or whatever.
Yep, a million years ago, I was doing small press comic book stuff back in the early '90s when it just like with writing and stuff now, where it's the barrier to entry was getting low enough that you could do it. The cost for printing, particularly to do color and stuff like that, had gotten low enough that you could do it. And I went to a convention. I was working as the colorist, the person that does the coloring on the comic book. I went to a convention with my friend who was the writer and publisher. And we're in a booth next to a couple of other guys. And one of the guys we're talking with says, it takes an amazing amount of effort even to produce garbage. And it really struck me at that point. It's like, it does. You have to, and everybody thinks this. I think everybody says, I'm going to write a novel. And then they don't because they're afraid that it's going to be bad. And I'm going to tell you, your first novel's going to be bad. I've written like 9 of them. And I'm getting now to the point where it feels like, I'm not embarrassed to show this to the world,
I mean, listen. Yes, 100%. If you watch my first video that I ever posted on here, it's terrible. I watch it all the time. It's absolutely horrible. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing.
Are you nervous? And
I was nervous. I had a fucking shitty green screen in the back. Like it was just bad. You know what I mean? And
something else I was going to say to you, though, was I watched that one video of yours before we did this interview, and I was worried because I got a foul mouth, and I'm like, am I going to have to worry about dropping F-bombs? So, no, he drops fucking F-bombs all the time. I'm good. All right.
I'm actually, by the way, I'm actually banned on Facebook, not banned, but I cannot make any posts on Facebook right now. I'm temporarily banned from Facebook from one of my interviews that I posted recently, but.
Because you got a potty mouth, sir. You got a potty mouth.
But listen, I believe that my guests should come on and talk naturally. Like I want to have. I don't like to call these interviews. I like to call them conversation. So it'd be like if I met you at a bar. We're not going to sit here and talk all filtered and hold
get 2 or 3 beers into it and start debating which the best Halloween movie is after the first one, of course.
Let's go. Yes, I mean, I act like no one else is watching us. Like we're just having a conversation. So like,
and I've done. I used to get really terrified doing these because I don't like my voice. I don't like the way I look. Oh my God, everything's terrible. And it's like, no, look, there's a point where it's just going to have to be. People are going to listen to me do an interview, and they're either going to be going, well, she's charming in a rough kind of way, or they're going to be like, I hate her. And what can I do? So I'm just going to be who I am. And I try to warn people that I'm a weirdo, and they're just like, oh, no, you're not. It's like, no, trust me. Trust me, I am.
I try to warn everybody who comes here. I'm like, because most people who come here are absolutely nervous. The first time writers, first time filmmakers, they've never done something like this. And I reach out to them and say, come on. And they're absolutely nervous. By the time they're done, they're like, wow, thank you so much. You made it so much easier. I felt like I was just having a conversation with someone. Or some people have said, I've been on another one and done one of these, and it felt like this person was like reading a script or something. Yeah.
You ever watch interviews on like late night shows, like David Letterman or something, where there are dead spaces and awkward pauses, and the guest is just like, it's like, no, don't do that. Be funny. Do something.
I've watched my competitors who do something similar to what I do,
Yeah.
and it is, and I'm like, whoa, this is not me being narcissistic or anything. I'm like, well, I'm like light years better because I'm a people person. I can talk. I don't need a script or something
Yeah.
to bounce off of. So
Yeah.
yes, but yeah, if you're an author, filmmaker, whatever, your first project, I mean, not everyone's going to be the Blair Witch Project. You make a first movie and it's like a hit. I mean, that's
Right.
rare. Your
That's
first,
almost, I would say that that's almost a curse if you hit one out of the park early, because then there's a lot of expectations, and we've seen that a lot. What was the guy? He did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then he did Poltergeist, and people were like, "This guy is
Toby Hooper.
and this guy's the shit." And then he did Life Force, and people were like, "What the fuck is this?" Have you seen Life Force, by the way?
I have not seen Life Force.
You should watch it. It is a glorious train wreck.
Oh.
It is the best, highest budget, most awesome, amazing, fucked up thing that's ever been made. You're like, this is 3 different movies. This is a post-apocalyptic movie. It's a vampire movie, and it's a space exploration movie. And those are 3 flavors that did not go together.
But M. Night Shyamalan, it's the same thing with him. Like,
yeah,
he made a couple of great movies, and then just like everything he touches down is a piece of crap.
The thing is that I think that people had expectations of him. If you go in and scrape off any expectations, he makes fun movies. He did one about like a bunch of people in an elevator, and one of them's Satan or something like that. I can't remember what it's. I can't remember.
Devil. I think it might be called Devil.
It might be called Devil. That's kind of a fun movie, and people shit all over it. I'm like, I liked that. I liked The Village. I haven't seen one. Go ahead.
With the grandparents too. The ones where the kids are visiting their grandparents for the first time.
I haven't seen that one.
It turns out that it's not their fucking grandparents. It's like 2 people who escaped a mental ward or something like that.
How would you tell the difference?
It's so
Grandpa is a little on the senile side. What with him sharpening the machete and
so fucking good because they're doing weird shit, and then finally, one of the kids is on the phone with mom, like doing a video call, and she was like, "Who are those people in the background?" And they're like, "That's grandma and granddad." I'm like, "Those are not your grandparents." Yeah, and these people killed their grandparents and pretended to be them.
Yeah, a little bit of butt pucker on the mom's part. It's like, could you guys just go ahead and get out of the house and run? But no, the granny here makes really good cookies, so we're going to stay.
Yeah. But that's a freaky ass movie. But M. Night Shyamalan has made some bad movies too. But I mean, I even say the same thing about Jordan Peele. Like Jordan Peele, I mean, he did Get Out, which was a masterpiece, and then you kind of expect another Get Out to come afterwards, and the movies are fun, but there'll never be that another Get Out because
this is the thing. I mean, deeply to the core of my being, I loved Nope, and that movie got shit on. I loved it. There's the scariest scene in any movie I've seen in probably 15 years is in that movie where the little kid actor is under the table and the chimp has gone berserk on the set of the sitcom.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That is the scariest fucking scene I have seen. I swear to God, because it's the one, those people get afraid of serial killer movies because they can happen. Mm-hmm. That could happen. And if you know the strength of a chimpanzee, an angry chimpanzee, they can literally tear your arm off.
They really can.
That's the scariest thing that I've ever oh my God. And that poor kid is going to be messed up forever. And he was,
Yes.
Yeah. And it took me 2/3 of that movie to figure out I was watching a Western. For some reason, I thought it was whatever genre. No, that's a Western. That's why I wasn't getting it. Oh, hang on a second.
I fell asleep in the theater watching Nope, and then I gave it a second try at home, and I was like, "This is not for me." It just wasn't.
Things strike people differently.
Yeah, I mean, even Us wasn't, and I saw Us 2 times in the movie theater. I seen the first time, I was so excited, and then I was like, "But this wasn't that bad." But I didn't like this, and I was like, well, let me watch it a second time, and didn't like second time. I liked it less, and I was like, but I mean, you know,
Did you see?
Huh?
Didn't he do Lovecraft Country too? Wasn't that?
No, I don't think
Jordan
so.
Peele? I thought it was.
He might have been a producer or something. He produced a lot of stuff. Like he
because I watched the first
Candyman
recently, like in the last week or two. I watched the first couple episodes of Lovecraft Country, and I was impressed. I need to get back on finishing that series.
I hear it's great, and unfortunately they ended it too soon because I guess someone didn't want to do the rights or something for them to carry over, but kind of sucks.
It's a bummer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you ever watch? This is way off topic, but a jillion years ago they did a TV series called Heroes. It was like superpowered people.
I did not watch Heroes, but it seemed like a show that I would have loved back in the day.
The first season of it was fantastic, and then the writer's strike happened, and the second season was such hot garbage I couldn't even describe it. It's like, oh my god, how did you wreck this train this quickly?
But that's how I feel about True Blood. Like True Blood, I absolutely love True Blood, and I did not even know anything about True Blood. But I was working at the time. I was working in an office with nothing but women, and I don't know what it's had to go to, but they were talking about True Blood, this vampire show, and then a woman I was dating at the time, she was talking about True Blood. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? True Blood? And they were like, well, it's hot chicks and vampires and a lot of sex. I'm like, sign me up.
Sign me up.
And then,
yes, please. I'll take 2 helpings of that.
And I never read any books, and if I watched the show, I was addicted to True Blood. I was addicted to True Blood, and then like it just fell off. It went up and it fell off like so quick, and I never finished the series. I think it was like the 3rd or 4th season. I just checked out. And it's a shame when they do that. I hate them when they give a show like The Walking Dead. I mean, I still love The Walking Dead, and I checked out seasons before it even ended because it was just like, where are you going? Come on, listen. You can't be at the party too long. You know, it's 2 a.m. Everybody needs to get some sleep. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I love zombie movies. I do too. I probably watched 40, like way more than normal people have watched 40, 50 zombie movies. I watched like 3 episodes of The Walking Dead, and I started to get real strong soap opera vibes from it. Like this isn't what I'm looking for. This is drama, not.
Well, I like them because it had a little bit of a soap opera, but it's just become over time. It just became nothing but a soap opera.
Well, that's what you got to do if it's an ongoing thing. It's just a drama mill. If you don't have a direction, did you ever see a bajillion years ago? There was a show called Babylon 5, sci-fi series. It was from the beginning. It was written like this is what happens in the show. And the only reason it deviated from that is like, oh, well, that actor died. That actor decided to go on to do something else. It's this actor's not getting high enough ratings. We need to replace him with another actor. And that's the only thing that really diverged it from the Bible of the series that was written. But you could see a coherent narrative through the whole thing. It was not episodic. It was serial, and it had an ending planned. Every time, have you seen the Zack Snyder movie called Watchmen?
Yes, I've seen Watchmen.
Okay. Have you read the book for Watchmen, the graphic novel? It is absolutely legitimate masterpiece. And the thing that I think makes it so powerful is that it comes to a conclusive end, and it ties all the things together and becomes a narrative that has meaning because it is finite. You know what I mean? The Walking Dead and all these other shows that just grind on because they have ratings. They're making money. Let's keep it going.
And they got like 20 spinoffs up right now of it. It's like,
and it kills the soul of any story when it doesn't come to a finale.
Correct.
In my opinion.
I agree. And like, I mean, they're just milking that name forever. And like, okay, listen, I'm gonna ask you 3 random horror questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. All right, speaking of milking, what is a movie series that you're like, oh my goodness, I'm tired of seeing this. They're milking it for every single fucking drop.
Saw, I
That's
would say.
obvious. Yes, that's
Yeah. Like the first Saw was a low budget, beautiful. We're talking about low budget, well done.
Mm-hmm.
Saw number one was a fucking masterpiece in low
It
budget,
was.
mostly all in one room. And
Yes.
a few actors, good actors, get a few good actors to do a cheap movie and you'll knock it out of the park.
Yes.
There's another movie called Splinter that's the same thing. It's like got three main actors and it's all in a gas station. It's brilliant. As soon as it starts to become the world building, we need a mythology. Same thing
The whole
with John
universe.
Wick. Like John Wick, the first John Wick was just a shoot 'em up, just a gun fu
It was
movie.
so much fun.
And then it became like, well, now we need to expand the universe. And I haven't watched past John Wick 1 because I assume by this time there's a sacred cult that's 10,000 years old of aliens that gave him the sacred pistol that he uses to kill the ancient vampire beast. You know what I mean? It's like it just becomes more and more fucking ridiculous.
Well, I have a review on my channel for John Wick 4. I love the John Wick series, right? But I agree with you. And the John Wick series, but the John Wick series started going into that realm that the Fast and the Furious movies started going into.
Yeah.
I can't stand the Fast and the Furious movie. I don't want to see them anymore. I know there's another one coming out. But it becomes this world where we're way off topic, but I like going off topic. But
that's fine.
with the first John Wick, I remember seeing that movie in a drive-in. No one knew about who that movie the fuck it was. I remember saying, "Oh, it's Keanu Reeves." And I watched it, and I was sitting in a drive-in. I was like, "This movie is fucking amazing. I love it." And then John Wick 2 came out, and more people knew about it. And I saw John Wick 2 in a 3D seat. And I don't even know if they offer these anymore, but their seats, they move. So nice. Every time John Wick is driving, what's funny, he gets punched, you feel like you're getting punched. It's fucking amazing. John Wick 2 was better than the first one, right? Then you get John Wick 3. And then John Wick starts becoming a superhero, right?
Yeah.
He stops becoming a man or assassin. Yeah. And then John Wick 4 takes it on a whole nother fucking level. It's 3 hours long, too. I fell asleep halfway through. But it takes on a whole nother level where you start going into that Kill Bill fucking. And I love Quentin Tarantino movies, but I hate Kill Bill. I hate the Kill Bill movies because, I mean, they're my least favorite Quentin Tarantino movies by far.
Yeah.
But you start taking something that's completely, yes, Rambo and all that is unrealistic. But once you start putting one person against literally 100 people in a hand-to-hand combat movie, it's outrageous. It's bonkers. It's nuts. It's not even believable.
Okay, the thing is that I came up when I was a kid. I watched all of the cheap kung fu movies. Like there was like at 11 p.m. or whatever. There was, I think it was literally called like Kung Fu Theater or something like that.
Yes.
So I'd seen a million of those wuxia whatever movies, and so I was well versed in the concept of like you could hold out a sword and somebody could jump up and stand on the blade. Like that's just not.
But those movies were at least fun, though. Those movies were at least fun.
But if you know those movies, you can pick out almost every moment in the Kill Bill movies and go, "Oh, that's the temple of the White Lotus priest. That's the drunken frog warrior kung fu master. That's whatever."
Yes.
Okay, so that was the first question. You asked me your first question. Go ahead, Bridgekeeper. Ask me another.
Let's shoot to the second one. The second one is, what is a horror movie that everybody says that they love, but you dislike? They tell you it's the greatest thing. Every kid say, "Oh, it's the greatest thing ever," and you're like, "I don't see it."
The Witch came out recently, like a few years ago. I watched the first 20 minutes of it, and I'm like, "This is so fucking boring. I want to stab myself in both eyes."
I saw that in the theaters, and I felt the same way. I saw that actually in the theater, and I felt the same way. Yeah.
I've heard people go like, "Oh no, you just have to keep watching." It's like,
no.
Let me understand this. You want me to trudge through 400 feet of feces to get to the end of where it gets good? I will pass.
But it's beautiful. It's a beautiful movie. It's a beautifully shot movie.
Cinematography looked really good.
Cinematography is great. but it is a bore to sit through. I mean,
slog. Yeah.
it's an absolute bore, and I think the same. But the movie for me is one that was called shit. Men. Watch Men.
Men. See, I can't remember who did that movie, but they had done. Weren't they the ones that did like Ex Machina and Annihilation? The same guy.
This was made by a woman, a feminist.
Okay.
A feminist.
There's something.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I thought there was a connection with those, but by the way, those two movies I just mentioned, Ex Machina and Annihilation. Have you seen those?
Great movies.
Yeah. Whoever that person is that did them, the guy or whatever, I want to see more because I'm curious. Because when they got a budget, they knocked it out of the park. I'm like, I need another one of those. I think I hurt my brain and went to a different dimension and slipped out of time space. A lot of my horror that I write is very cosmic. That whole loss of self, existential dread, that sort of thing. And I love it. It's like, okay, look, anybody can throw a person into a meat grinder. Anybody can heave a corpse into a wood chipper and spray gore and describe the drippings and all that stuff. I want to be scared of stuff that I can't physically touch. I want dread as well as horror. So
I agree.
You had 3 questions for me. Yes. That was 2.
You ready for the last one? Out of all of your writings, I'm pretty sure you have written in gruesome ways people have died.
Yes.
What is one way someone has died in one of your stories what's the number one way that you were like, fuck no, I do not want to die that way?
I wrote a story called Bodies of Rot. And this guy puts together a puzzle of information where he thinks somebody has buried themselves with some eldritch secret. He thinks they have like a manuscript or something that will unlock, infernal knowledge for him. So he goes into this crypt and he breaks into their tomb and he pulls out the coffin. And when he pulls it out of this little cubby, this loculi, it sloshes. And then after it sloshes, he hears this like, help me, voice from inside the coffin. And he cracks the coffin open and it's this horrible stench of chemical foulness. And he opens this casket and there's this beautiful young girl in there. And then he realizes what he's looking at is a face. It's a death mask. It's made out of wax. And it cracks open. And just as he's about to see what's under it, these slimy tentacles grab him, break his light, and he's in a dark tomb fleeing for his life. And it brushes against him. He escapes. But as he's leaving this tomb, his body is just disintegrating. It's turning into mushy puddles of goop. And one of his eyes pops and they're taking him to a hospital and they've got him in a ICU ward, enclosed and stuff. And the last thing he sees before his other eye goes out is that the other people that had rescued him are all affected by the same thing and it's spreading.
Oh, that's horrible, Elizabeth. Horrible.
This is so much fun.
That's horrible. I wouldn't want to die that way either. That's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
That was one of my most fun ways.
That was bad.
Please
show us those beautiful book covers again.
Right. Book 1.
Ooh. A girl's gotta eat.
The brick background is actually, I live in Collinsville, Illinois, and this is actually from a building that's 5 blocks from my house. That beautiful circle of brick.
Mm-hmm.
It's gorgeous.
Nice.
And I made the font. I love my font. I'm very proud of it.
Love it.
The second book is Old Black Water. And this texture is a stone. I think it's chalco pyrite, chalco something. It is a copper mixed stone. Gives it that verdigris color.
I like that.
The creature here is my rendering of like on 50 places in in Native American artwork, there are renderings of that thing, and that's just my version of it. It's called Mishipeshu. The underwater panther is roughly how it translates. The third book cover, Invasive Species. This entire cover is done, I did it on a big poster board with colored marker and pen, and it's supposed to be sort of one of those, in a horror movie when they go into a crazy person's room and they've got stuff pinned up all over the place and scribblings. This is the scribblings of one specific character in the book as he's trying to sort out how magic works in the world. He's starting to understand it and the sort of wheels of energy embedded into each other and the symbols that you use to. And all of these little symbols mean something. I know a lot of people just put in random crap, but all of those on the book cover mean something. And there is a compiled version of the series.
Look at that.
As the trilogy. And around it are the glyphs representing the various characters and the... Yeah. And look how...
Love it.
Look at that thing.
That's
a Stephen King choke you to death book.
Yes, it is. That's a knock someone out book.
I could use this as a murder weapon. Not that I would admit to doing it if I had done it. You could get a signed copy that has the blood of someone that I murdered.
Yes, exactly.
I've got a good story for you.
Okay.
My not my oldest brother, my middle brother worked at a university at one point, University of Illinois or something. And he went to a book sale and he bought an anatomy book, and it was a teacher's edition. So it's like a big, thick chunkin' book with a real thin paper. So there's like a jillion pages, beautifully illustrated, pen whipped by the professor who had used it in his class. And he sold it because the book accidentally got zipped up with a cadaver over a weekend and stunk of formaldehyde.
Oh.
And I now own that book. It's like, it smells like corpse.
Well, I know that smell pretty well.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but it really permeates a book if you stick it in there with them.
I bet. I don't want to find out.
Yeah, try it sometime. You'll like it. It's great.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna try it. Yeah. Elizabeth, where can everyone find you and your books?
I have such a bad presence. I'm on Facebook, Elizabeth Lynn Blackson, but you'd have to send me a friend request because I get a lot of negative stuff from people, and I can't just have random people. You can go to Tales of Wonder and Dread is my publisher, Gary Hill. If you go to his talesofwonderandread.com, I think it is, through him, you can get a hold of me. Awesome. I can be reached by email at elizabethblackson8, the number 8, at gmail.com. My books are available on lulu.com in print format, these. And electronically, you can get the digital version of the first book, A Girl's Gotta Eat, on Amazon, Kindle, Unlimited, that sort of thing. Soon, I hope to have the first book available in audio at Audible.
Oh, nice. And where can we get the murder book? The big one you're not smelling.
Oh, that's also available at lulu.com.
Lulu.com.
Yeah. If you search my name on Lulu, it'll come up with a bunch of anthologies that I'm in. If you go to the bottom, there's a button that says show me stuff that's restricted to 18 and older. It'll show you these books, because these books are full of nasty blood, gore, sex, horrible, very adult stuff that I had to do age limitation on.
Yes, and listen, Elizabeth, you're going to be sending me a copy, and I'm going to be enjoying it.
I will absolutely send you digital copies of at least the first book to let you give it a try, and if you like it, the rest of the series.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Half an hour after we finish this interview, it'll be popping up.
Awesome. Listen, this has been a blast having you on. Listen, you're more than welcome to come
Thank
on
you.
anytime to the Hard Realm and promote any of your books.
No problem. I should have a short story showing up in another anthology shortly, and I'd love to shoot the crap with you for another hour or so. You're fantastic. You're a great interviewer. So
thank you. I do my best. I'm a natural. I mean, I just.
I think you are
good at this. I'm just natural good at this. Thank you. Well, listen, everybody. Thank you for listen. Get over to Lulu and get over to Amazon and grab Elizabeth's books, please. She got some sick shit. Okay.
I do. He hasn't read it yet. He doesn't even know. But I'm telling you, I have some sick shit.
And she's proud of it too. Listen,
I'm proud.
She's proud of it. She's 100% proud of her sick shit. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that is Elizabeth Lynn Blackson. We'll see you next time. Take care.